Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Okay, I have a question for you, and be honest. How many times have you started a new expense tracking spreadsheet, meticulously logging every single coffee and sandwich, only to completely abandon it 3 weeks later? Yeah, me too. It's the financial equivalent of a New Year's resolution, right? You know you need to know where your money is going, but the sheer effort of tracking it all, it just kills your motivation. Well, today we're going to talk about why that happens. Because it's not a personal failure, it's actually a documented phenomenon called tracking fatigue. And more importantly, we're going to look at the easy, modern solutions that basically do the work for you. But real quick, if you're new here or if you just love this kind of deep dive into why we do what we do with money, you absolutely need to check out my Master Money playlist on the Subject Simplified channel. We just did a whole video on the psychology of impulse buying, and it ties in perfectly with what we're covering today. Links in the description below. So let's get academic for a second, but I promise it's fascinating. The reason we stop tracking our expenses is beautifully explained by behavioral economics. You see, every time you manually log an expense, you're incurring a compliance cost. It's a tiny drain of mental energy. You have to open the app, categorize the transaction, maybe remember what you even bought. Do that 5 or 6 times a day, every day, and that mental load adds up quickly. That cumulative mental effort is what researchers call tracking fatigue. Your brain simply decides the cost of compliance is higher than the perceived benefit. Now, if you haven't yet, you might want to pause and go back and watch our very first video, Why Money Matters, Your Financial Why, because without that core motivation, beating this compliance cost is almost impossible. And if you're not even sure what you should be tracking, take a look at the 4 key financial documents and the budgeting blueprint where we break down the zero-based budgeting, or ZBB, and 50-30-20 methods. You need the why and the structure first. This video is the how. Now, here's where the good news and the interesting facts come in. The only way to beat tracking fatigue is to minimize the effort. You need to move from manual compliance to digital integration. I was looking at a great study, and I'll link to some similar papers in the description. They found that the most successful budgeters aren't necessarily the most motivated. They're the ones who have automated the process to the point of zero effort. This aligns perfectly with the research on self-control and financial monitoring by Oten and Chang, who found that turning tracking into a consistent, low-effort habit actually improves your overall regulatory strength. Interesting fact alert. Did you know that the average person makes about 30 to 50 distinct transactions a week? Imagine manually logging that. That's why the old envelope system or the paper ledger is just not sustainable for most people in the digital age. So here's the modern fix. We're leveraging what's called digital integration with apps like Monarch Money, You Need a Budget, or even Plum. Stop categorizing manually. Use apps that connect directly to your bank and credit card accounts. They categorize 90% of your transactions automatically. If it sees a payment to Starbucks, it knows it's coffee. This is the single biggest step in eliminating tracking fatigue. Monarch and YNAB, for instance, excel at this level of hands-off tracking. The 24-hour rule. If an app can't categorize something, make a personal rule. You have 24 hours to open the app and fix it. If you miss that window, you let it go and move on. Trying to backtrack a whole month's worth of spending is a recipe for instant failure. You need to forgive yourself and prioritize the data going forward. Use a digital guilt integration. Many apps allow you to set up immediate push notifications. A notification that says, you just spent $85 on Amazon. You are now $5 over budget for your shopping category. Creates a tiny, immediate, and effective feedback loop. It's a quick, helpful jab, not a massive, painful accounting exercise. Look, I get it. I've been there. I remember one month I literally only tracked expenses in my Notes app, and the entire thing was just a string of vague terms like groceries, $70, and stuff, $35, completely useless. But by leaning on the apps, suddenly my brain wasn't doing the heavy lifting. The app was the tireless accountant, and I was just the occasional auditor. Here are 3 quick final tips to make this stick. Tip 1, the 1-minute review. Don't check your budget daily. That's overkill. Make it a Friday ritual. Open the app Friday evening and just spend 60 seconds reviewing your week. That's it. It keeps you informed without stressing you out. Tip 2. Zero-based budgeting. Simplified. Especially if you're a fan of the ZBB method we discussed, only focus on tracking the big three: housing, food, and transportation. Get those three under control first. Everything else is just noise if those major buckets are leaking. In tip 3, the overshoot category. This is a neat little trick. Create a category called I messed up. Seriously, if you can't figure out where an expense came from, or you went crazy on an impulse buy and don't want to look at it, put it there. It allows you to still account for the money and keep your records balanced without the emotional stress of agonizing over a mistake. It's a compliance release valve. So, if you've struggled with expense tracking, please stop beating yourself up. It's not a willpower issue, it's a system design issue. The old way of tracking expenses had too high a compliance cost. The modern, digital way is nearly effortless, allowing you to sidestep that nasty tracking fatigue and actually stick to your goals. Remember to check out our previous videos on why money matters, your financial why, the 4 key financial documents, and the budgeting blueprint to round out your financial foundation. I'd love to know, what's your favorite budgeting app? Let me know in the comments below, and let's help each other out. And don't forget, if you want to dive deeper into the psychology behind things like the overshoot category and how our brains handle financial stress, make sure you head over to the playlist on the Subject Simplified channel for more analysis. Hit that subscribe button here if you want more easy to digest finance tips every week, and I will see you in the next video.